Grab a cup of joe and let's gather round that hay bale. With your hosts, Anne from Andale Homestead, Cayce from Ormsby Farms, Monica from Bland's Promised Land Ranch, and Sandi from Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona. Here they are. Hey, y'all, hey.
Hey, y'all, hey, it's Ann with Andale Homestead.
Hey, it's Monica at Bland's Promised Land Ranch.
This is Sandi with Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona.
And hello, everyone. It is Cayce over at Ormsby Farms.
We're so glad that you're here this evening. And if you are listening to us out in podcast land, which we certainly do appreciate that, but you would like to see our smiling faces, please come over to YouTube Round the Hay Bale. That's R, Round the Hay Bale. And you get to see all of the things that we're talking about, because quite often we will have props that we will be showing you what we do in our own homes and how we live our ways. This time we're going to be talking about pickles, because I'm just tickled that we're talking about pickles. So Cayce, why don't you tell everybody what we're talking about tonight?
Well, Andale, pickle me this. Do you have a good pickle recipe? Because that's really what we're talking about tonight, is good pickle recipes. Now, we've joked off of the air as I'm wiping away seasonal allergies. We talked a little bit off that a couple of us may be cheater, pumpkin eater picklers.
We might.
But those are still good recipes. Miss Wages, I know somebody will mention Miss Wages. It's a good pickling recipe. Yeah? I will vouch for it. When you're in a pickle and you need to have some pickles fast, this is great, because it really is a dump and go recipe. But Sandi, we're talking recipes, homemade recipes that are ones that people can probably jot down. They can rewatch this episode and put it into their recipe books. You have some really interesting ones, because you told all of us off air what your props that you brought tonight were. Talk about one of your interesting, because there was one that may be a little bit Asian.
It is a little Asian.
Uh-oh.
This is my Asian pickles.
Oh.
And I ferment them for 3 weeks before I make them into pickles.
Huh.
And I like that whole process of fermenting. I like that, how you can put the Asian pickle spices in there, and with it fermenting for 3 weeks, it just really absorbs in there. And I like a crunchy pickle. And really, you got to start with a good cucumber. Sometimes people think that they can just use a cucumber that you would use in a salad. That is not a pickling cucumber. And so sometimes when people use the wrong ones, their pickles can be very mushy.
Yes.
But this is a really easy one. I actually grew Asian pickles, though you could use any kind of small pickling pickle for this.
What does an Asian pickle look like?
It looks like a regular cucumber.
Is it Asian cucumber?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never seen that I know
Yeah.
of.
Neither.
You just buy the seeds. You can buy anything you can find on the web.
Absolutely.
It has organic onions that I grew. It has vinegar, white vinegar, though you could probably use apple cider vinegar too. Salt, and then the Asian pickling spices. And you can buy a packet of Asian pickling spices. It's just a little bit different than regular pickling spices.
Okay.
So it's just one of those things. And I was telling Anne earlier that, if you make a batch of pickles, can some pickles, and they're mushy and you just don't like them, all you got to do is chop them up and make them into relish, and you can can it again.
And why did I not think that? Because I will open a jar of my dill pickle spears that I have here, and if I bite in that thing and it is mushy, I pour it out and throw the whole thing away. And now I know I could have chopped them up and used it for dill relish.
Or also, I learned this from Sandi. Yeah, if it's a little mushy mush. Or my first year at the old homestead, we had so many cucumbers, and I canned. I think it was like over 700 pounds of cucumbers that I got the first year.
My
It was a ridiculous. Monica, do you remember? I remember telling you, I was like, Alicia, our friend Alicia was right. She told me not to grow these plants.
Yeah, it was something outrageous. It was crazy.
It's crazy. And so I had like 500-600 jars of pickles.
Oh,
you can't go through 500-600. Well, I guess you could. Some families could, but we could not go through that many in even 2 years. So the second year, I didn't grow as many cucumbers because I had pickles from before.
Yeah.
Now, when you pop those open and you taste them as they get older, they're starting to get a little bit more mushy over time. And Sandi said, well, why don't dehydrate them and turn them into like pickle chips?
oh,
So good.
So I drain them. So you have your pick. Now I mainly, sometimes I have not done this with spears yet, but I do make pickle spears. But I mainly do it with my chips, which could be cucumbers, and I have done some with zucchini too, because I had a lot of zucchini the second year.
Yep.
I made zucchini pickles.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I have those up there. But you drain the water. I laid the pickle chips on a paper towel, just so it was not. I patted them a little bit, just so they were a little bit less slimy. Yes.
What?
Yeah.
And then I put them in my dehydrator for about 11 hours.
okay.
Monica, it was better than the ones that I made you try that cleared up ulcers by a foot. It was not as salty. I tried to make pickle chips before, and they were like, I should sell it to the dental office because it would clear any disease you have in your mouth.
Yeah.
But these were so good. So if you have mushier chips from your canned one, drain it, pat it dry, and dehydrate them into some chips. They're addictive.
Well, why not take it a step further though? And if your chips are too many because you have too many chips, why not take those chips and make them into powder? And now you've got pickle powder that you can sprinkle on your things you want to pickle up. I mean,
Popcorn.
my kids, like popcorn, exactly. My kids sprinkle stuff like you want cheddar popcorn? Why not pickle popcorn? People do that. They eat that up.
Baked potatoes.
Yeah.
All the
Or if
stuff.
you're making your own chips from your potatoes,
Yeah.
you can sprinkle them with that dill powder. So fun.
Deviled eggs. If you put a little bit of the dill pickle powder in your deviled eggs, just a little bit of a mix, or on the top, so good.
Yeah.
We were getting like, we went from this topic and now we're like, what to do?
Man,
It's still pickles.
so awesome.
We're good. It's still pickles.
But we're talking about Miss Wages. I told Ann I wanted to 1 year because I was also that same person with those bags. Now I did 1 year buy a tub, the plastic tub of the seasoning with a little mini scoop because I was that crazy. But I wanted to find a recipe that was comparable to Mrs. Wages, just in case stuff was to happen, everything was to shut down. We all remember that silly little thing called COVID or coronavirus or cinnamon vanilla, whatever you want to call it. You needed to stock up stuff in your house. And so I got this recipe, and it is very simple. I do it with all of my veggies. Not only do I do it with my pickles, but if I have a lot of peppers, Cayce cans a pack of pickled peppers. A pack of peppers, Cayce decides to can.
Oh, okay.
But I do peppers. I have done asparagus. And I do green beans. And I do it because I love charcuterie boards. Like when you have a little get together and you want to be fancy and you're putting cheese and meats and pickles on a board, have your own pickles that you can. And this one, and it looks very bare. It looks just like the Miss Wages because I told Ann I have a very picky set of nephews and 30-year-old brother. Stuff floating in the jar, they will not touch it at all. They will not look at it. It does not look like the pickles from the store, so they will not taste it. So I strain it. So I did regular dill, my fresh dill. I do garlic. I had some onions. I have mustard seeds, and it's equal parts distilled vinegar and water that you bring to the boil, just like you're going to do just the liquid first. And then I strain it as I'm draining it over the pickles. Now, I want to say, because we've done videos on vinegar, homemade vinegars, for pickling, you want to make sure that you get a store-bought vinegar, because you don't know the
acidity
of that vinegar. And I want to make sure that everybody knows that while we do, the four of us probably do make our own vinegars, we don't use that for our canned pickling items for safety. Some people think we're super rebels. We're not that rebel yet. But do your own. It's equal parts. I'll do 4 cups water, 4 cups vinegar. And that's like a base good pickling recipe for me. That's worked for me.
Do you use white vinegar or apple cider vinegar?
I use white vinegar unless I'm getting cray and want to do something, and I've used rice vinegar before for an Asian kind of feel to it, and soy sauce. Sometimes I use apple cider vinegar for stuff that is not pickles, like the like chip pickles, like dill pickles.
Okay, because I use white vinegar.
Yeah, I'm all distilled vinegar.
Well, I was going to say too, one of the things about the white vinegar is I know there was like a thing a couple years ago where they were taking the vinegar and the 5% vinegar, which is what usually was in stores, they were actually selling 3% vinegar. It was the 3% acidity. And I think that was the thing that people were like, hey, if you're using this for your pickles, you need to watch and make sure it's 5%, not the 3%. So that's something just to be aware of too. Because I mean, I use apple cider vinegar in some of my recipes for different things. But when I'm pickling, when I'm doing my pickles, when I'm doing my pickled peppers and things like that, because I do pickled, peppers a lot of times, I use the 5% white vinegar. Just it makes the most sense. That's what it calls for. And again, I'm a rebel for the most part, but when it comes to pickles, because I want that flavor and I want to make sure it's locked in and that when I open it in 6 months, it's going to be good, or a year. Yeah, I'm going with that 5% acidity.
Well, I didn't even know there was a difference in percentage of vinegar until there was a big stink about it. And then I began to pay attention to the labels of how they labeled it and what they were doing and things like that. And so it is important. If you don't know, there is a difference in percentages of the vinegar. And you do want, for pickling, like Monica said, you want it to be 5%. So how about you, Sandi? As far as other things, what might be something unusual that you have pickled?
Well, if we go away from cucumbers, one thing that I really like pickling is I let some of my radishes flower, and then they make the pods that are about, an inch and a half, depending on the radish. I pickle those. And they're so good. I mean, I've used those for stir fry and stuff, but you can pickle them and you can make them like a bread and butter. You can make them like a dill. You can make them all kinds of different tastes. But a lot of people that can't eat radishes because it upsets their stomach, a lot of times they can eat that pod.
Oh, who knew?
Yeah, so it's like those. It's
If you
just
could see our
They
face.
look like beans, but they're just like little like pea pods.
Yeah, they just have the radish seeds in there, and they're really tasty. When I'm out in the garden, I just munch on them.
Oh my goodness.
Cayce and I are both like, what?
Yeah.
Anne's not fazed by anything Sandi says anymore. Both Cayce and I can't. We're both like completely like, we love you, but that's weird. Like both
every day's a new day. Sometimes, I'm like, wait, and then I want to like write it down. So I'm like, I'll try it. Usually it's Sandi. The joke around my house is when my family listens, if they do listen to the thing, they'll be like, well, Sandi said.
That's right.
Like, I know. We got to try it. Sandi said it. So now we got to try these radish pods.
Yeah. Now I got to go grow radishes. I don't even like radishes, but now I'm going to have to grow radishes so I can eat the pods when I'm just meandering them out of my garden now.
Even if you just leave a few little plants, because they get these great big long stalks, flowers all over the place that brings the bees into your garden. And then they make these pods. And depending on the kind of radish, the pod will be anywhere from an inch. Some of them can be up to 3 inches.
Okay, what's the best kind of radish to grow? If I don't want the radish, but what's the one I want the best for the pods?
Any of them. Every single kind I've tried, I've liked. But just a little red globe radish, or a French breakfast one that's a little elongated. Those are really good too.
You say a breakfast radish?
Yeah, French breakfast.
That's a thing. Cayce, are you with me? The confusion is real. I'm like, what?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
I'm gonna have to grow a radish now. Eric's gonna be like, "What is that plant over there?" I'm gonna be like, "That's radishes." Sandi told me to grow them. It's good for my garden.
You're growing them for the pollinators and for the pods.
Yep, that's it. I don't even care.
Have you pickled that before, Ann? The pods?
No, are you kidding? No, I'm just thinking, oh my gosh, I've never even seen a radish flower. I mean, because I picked them. I have a problem with things that grow under the dirt and waiting long enough for them to be prepared.
Yeah.
I can't seem to wait long enough for them to actually mature. And when I pull them out and they're like little toothpicks, then it's too late. So I will not do that and allow them to grow.
I'm wondering, if I grow radishes, I'm gonna have to grow one plant just for the pods. The other one, I'm wondering if I could add it to my salad because radishes don't really have that much of a flavor, right? They're kind of
they're very peppery. They do have
radish.
Okay, so I make this like pickled salad for Eric. This is like one of the, I don't make a lot of pickles, right? But I make pickled peppers and I do pickled cucumbers, right? But beyond that, I make this like pickly salad, like this vinegar salad for him in the summer. As soon as the cucumbers hit and the tomatoes are coming, you know what it is? It's onions, cucumbers, and tomatoes. Cucumbers, tomatoes, and onions. And I wonder if I could slice up some radishes. Stick them in there because I bet you would kind of go along with it. And you just put the vinegar in there and I make it up and I'll make a big bowl and Eric will come in and just like munch on it.
Yeah.
I do that and add a little teeny, like a teaspoon of sugar.
Yes, you can do a little tiny bit of sugar. Oh my gosh, he loves it. Now I don't add the sugar, but he loves it. He'll just eat it. It's like a refreshing, like cooling summer salad, but with no lettuce. I mean, it's just amazing. That's like one of my favorite pickled recipes to use in the summer. But I bet you the radishes will give it a little bit of a
it would.
A little kick.
Yeah.
You held up something that had like some strings or beans or something once a second ago. What is that you have pickled?
That's asparagus.
Oh,
is it slimy?
I love pickled
asparagus. It's crunchy. It's like, a good old solid crunch.
Like your dilly beans? Because Cayce he pickled Chinese noodle beans. And a couple years ago when I visited him, I tried a pickled Chinese noodle bean. These purple, gorgeous beans. It was so good. I came home. I was like, I'm going to grow noodle beans. I'm going to pickle them. Okay, mine were garbage, okay? I gave up on noodle beans here. But they were really good. Cayce did that so good. But they weren't, I was expecting slime, but they weren't slimy. They were crunchy and delicious.
No, they're not slimy. And I do them pretty like fresh out of the garden. Of course, you do need to wash them up. But some people will boil their stuff in the pickling stuff before they pickle it. I always do it raw, a raw pack.
So your asparagus is raw going in and you pickle it and then, but they can sit in that jar and they don't get like slimy.
Yeah, this was canned last year. I was hoping it was going to be a really old one, but this was canned last year. And I like them. My family, especially during the holidays, my mother and brother Chris love a good Bloody Mary. That is their holiday drink of choice. And with Bloody Marys, their garnish is all these fabulous different type of pickled veggies, sometimes with shrimp. And so when we do Bloody Marys, I am not a Bloody Mary fan, by the way, let the record be known. They have options of asparagus, my dilly beans, pickled peppers. I do pickled okra.
Okay.
I also pickle zucchini and squash because when I had so many zucchini and squash coming out of the garden, you only can freeze so much
Right.
before it starts getting redundant.
What would you use pickled zucchini and squash for?
They taste just like a regular pickle.
Oh,
And I put them on burgers. I put them on charcuterie boards.
okay. Yum.
I'll
I
put them in
will-
salads.
deviled eggs, that
I
kind
make
of
pickle
stuff.
relish. I do the dill relish with the zucchini
Zucchini.
and squash because they're harder. It's not as soft as a dill relish. Dill cucumber.
Okay.
So cucumber relish is much softer, and a zucchini relish is like a crispier relish.
Right.
So if you like that crunch,
Okay, great. Because I have 20 summer squash plants out in the garden now.
Well, you will love this. then.
Really nice.
you're
To
gonna
be
need some
able to have
recipes.
something to do with them. So I could pickle some squash. Okay.
And they do it. They stay a lot crunchier, I've noticed, than cucumbers. Now, sometimes I am, like Sandi said, not to be, and I put every cucumber I have in my garden into pickles, and you
Yeah.
should.
I didn't
Because the
know.
long, is it called Macklemore cucumber? Or no, I think it's the English.
Oh,
Those
English cucumber. Yeah, I
English
don't
are
use that.
really good for salads, putting over your eyes when you have allergies that are making you look like a you-know-what on national television, but not the best for pickles, because
Right.
you pull out a pickle and it's falling apart in your hand. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
nasty, nasty.
Yeah, I grow the Armenian cucumbers because they're like a salad cucumber. And so
Mm.
my kids know the Armenian cucumbers are like a sweeter cucumber. We grow those for salads and for eating raw. They don't ever get bitter, even when they're like bigger and I forget that there's one there and I see it and it's like this
Really?
big. They're not bitter at all. They're amazing. But the other cucumbers, the Boston pickling and all the other pickling ones, they're the ones I have to get. Because I was talking to Sandi beforehand off camera. I don't have a good canned, like shelf stable pickling recipe like that I like. I have tried a lot of them and they always are super soggy. I want a crunchy pickle. Darn
And
it.
I tried to help our listeners. Monica has gone through my cookbook of
I
recipes.
have. Well, Sandy made a good point though, right? So the smaller the pickle, the earlier pickle, they're crunchier, they're going to stay probably long term. So I'm going to try the smaller pickles. But if you're listening and you're watching and you have a tried and true pickle recipe that's shelf
Yes,
stable that you would
please.
share with me, put it in the comments. Email us, whatever it is. I need some good recipes. I will try it out and I will let you know because I have been through them and I'm kind of a pickly snob. Yeah, I'm kind of a snob with it. I'm a very particular pickly person.
She's a
So
pickler.
I need a good dill pickle recipe.
Pickle.
Yeah. I have a good sweet, like a good sweet pickle recipe, bread and butter. I can do those. I love those. I have a few of those. I need a good solid pickle recipe that's shelf stable.
Okay. So
No.
a straight
I was
A.
going to say, question: do any of y'all use those little crispy? What are they called? The little white balls.
I've tried that too.
Sandy,
No,
are you?
I don't use those.
I've never used them, so I don't know if they actually work.
It doesn't change the taste, but I feel like I'm putting poison in there.
Yeah, I've tried it before. I have a whole container of it like this. I've used it like once or twice and I'm like, nah, it doesn't work. And then I'm like, don't want to use it anymore because it looks like poison. I look like I'm putting like ant bait in my pickle.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I have used it because
Like this can't be good.
Turned out mushy, but I also used regular garden cucumbers. I didn't know that you had to use the pickles.
No, and like I know the pickle thing. So I do the pickling cucumbers for that. Like I'm pretty good about
Is
that.
there a
But maybe I
brand?
need to do smaller cucumbers.
Does it say pickling cucumbers?
Yeah,
Or-
it'll say that on the package.
Yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah.
mean, but is there like if I go to a nursery and I'm buying cucumber starts, let's say, just because some people do that. And yeah, is there like there's the straight 8 cucumber and there's the Marymore, whatever it was that you called it, Casey. There's all these various types of
Macklemore.
cucumbers. Excuse me. But would they say a brand or would it say pickling cucumbers?
Yeah, it would tell you that as a pickling cucumber.
Yep.
More than likely, you'd probably get a Boston pickling
I was gonna say
pickle
I use Boston
because
pickling.
that's real popular. But
Okay.
honestly, Anne, you are still better off just putting 3 seeds in the ground
Yes.
and letting it grow itself. They will grow very fast, and you will
Yes.
have plenty of pickles, and then you can play with some varieties then.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can always look it up online too. So like just say you're standing in the big box store or your local feed store and you find a cucumber that says, straight 8 and you don't know on there because it doesn't say on that little tag. You can easily grab your phone and look it up real quick. Pickling cucumber, straight 8s, question mark, something like that. Ask, look it up, or just before you go anywhere, look up what types of cucumbers are pickling cucumbers, whether it's the straight 8s from Burpee or whatever it is, you'll know, or the Market More or whatever it is.
Okay.
You'll kind of know going in what to look for, but it will say the type on there.
Because our Market More, really produced a lot, but
It's a
Yeah,
good
but
old salad cucumber all the
yeah,
way, and it's very flavorful. I will give it that. It is very
Mhm.
flavorful.
Yeah.
And one thing that I did as a newbie, kind of like I don't know, well, a newbie dummy on cucumbers is in the picture when you go to the big box stores and you're buying the plant starts, which ain't no shame in that game. That is my game this year.
Yep.
Look for the pictures that have the smaller cucumbers instead of the longer ones. That's
yeah,
usually an indicator that those are for
yeah.
pickling. The
And a lot of
smaller
times they're
pickles.
kind of pokey on the outside.
kind
Mhm.
of pokey.
Yeah.
Because our little farmers, our little nursery will not have pictures. They're just going to have the little stubs
Okay.
that says the name. So the leaves are a little more prickly.
No.
No,
When
that's
it
the
makes the
cucumber.
cucumbers itself.
Yeah.
Um,
The
Oh,
pickles.
yeah,
I
they
mean,
are.
cucumber,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
they are prickly.
yeah. But you could just when you go in there, just say, "I'm looking for a pickling cucumber."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they'll help. They're very helpful. They'll help me.
Well, and
And
that's the thing
Boston
too.
is the one you should try. Boston is like
Yeah,
the
Boston
standard.
pickling is good. Most
Yeah.
places want you to buy things that you're happy with too, especially if you're new at this. And let's just say you've just started your homestead or you just started your gardening and you're going to one of these places like Miss Ann and she's walking into a local place. Most places, especially the smaller ones, they want you to find what you're looking for and they want you to help. They want to help you the best they can because they
Yes.
want you to come back.
Yes.
They want you to leave there happy with them because they're a lot like you probably where they want to grow what's right too. And if they know what you need, sometimes we just have to open our mouth and say, look, I'm looking for a salad cucumber or I'm looking for a pickling cucumber
Right.
because, or I saw these beans that somebody canned and I really want to grow Chinese noodle beans. Do you know where I
Yeah.
can get the seeds? I mean, if you talk to people, a lot of times they really do want to help you. They want you to be successful with what you're doing. I think sometimes we forget that. And, just
That's
remember
true.
that they really do want the best for us too, usually. Usually.
That's right. Usually they do.
For
And
the
I
most
do
part.
know. Yeah. Yeah. Buying locally, because these people were raised in the same areas. My husband
Mhm.
grew up. They know they're going to see you again.
Yep.
Their reputation is everything. And so they do want to help you.
Yeah.
They could charge me rent sometimes of going in their place to stay.
Mhm.
So, Sandy, what is your go-to recipe for maybe your favorite type of pickle?
Ooh, for my favorite type of pickle. That's a tough one,
Is
Anne.
it?
But
Oh gosh.
but I, but I will tell you a very fun pickle to do.
Okay.
Okay. And you might go, "What?"
Well, we
Get
do
ready,
that
Casey.
a lot
Me and
on
Casey are both gearing up.
Okay. This is called a tongue pickle.
Oh,
Tongue like your tongue. No,
Uh,
it is a cucumber. It's just made from a cucumber, but it's because of the spices. So you're gonna cut the cucumber in half, then you're gonna cut it long ways, so it's kind of the shape of a tongue, right? Um,
oh,
with this one, you usually take the seeds out, okay? But
okay.
it's the spices, and this one uses apple cider vinegar. But I have it right here because I like the recipe.
Cool.
But you're adding apple cider vinegar, cloves, ginger, cinnamon, peppercorns, brown sugar, and some salt. But as it processes, it turns it kind of brown so it looks like a tongue. And so it's just kind of fun.
How are you eating that? Like,
My
what are you?
grandmother had those.
It's
My
just
grandma-
a pickle.
Pickle?
You put it on your board, or you're serving it. I just like putting pickles on our lunch plate because I
Yeah.
love pickles.
They're
Yeah.
very good on sandwiches. They're
they're
really
good
Eating
for
your
you.
tongue pickle with your tuna sandwich.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's really fun when you tell kids this is a tongue pickle, and it's like, what? I can't eat that.
Crazy.
Well, I have to say, yeah, especially if you're listening and you're thinking, I want to can tongue pickles. I want Sandi's recipe. I think you should come back tomorrow
There you
for
go.
our Tuesday live, because I'm thinking that we are going to do 3 different giveaways tomorrow. Listen up. We are going to do Sandi's tongue recipe. We'll give it to you in a PDF. We'll do a drawing and you can get Sandi's recipe. I'm going to give away my knockoff Miss Wages recipe. And we're also going to give away a bag of Miss Wages pickling spices, since that's what Ann and me use. So you need to come in tomorrow to our Tuesday live. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk more about pickling, but we're going to do some pickle seasoning recipe giveaways, so you won't want to miss it. And hopefully, maybe in the next couple of seasons, Monica will have a pickle recipe that she's like, yes, I'm signing the bland name to this. So
That's what I want.
leave it in the comments. If you have a good one for Monica, leave it for her in the comments. But we really appreciate you coming in and listening.
Yes.
Come and listen to us every Monday at 9 a.m. Central to our season 6, where we are year round. And then we'll come back at 8 p.m. Tuesday night for our live to talk about that previous episode. So
8 p.m. Eastern.
Yes, 8 p.m.
8
Eastern.
p.m. Eastern, 7 Central.
And see, I am the one that sets the times, and I still get them wrong. So that just shows where the mind is, y'all. But we appreciate y'all so much, and we will see y'all tomorrow night on Hey Y'all Hey Radio Show. Till then, bye y'all, bye.
Bye, y'all. Bye.
Hey, Monica, did you know it's now even easier to listen to Around the Hay Bale podcast?
What? Really? How easy?
That's right. All you have to do is say, Alexa, play Round the Hay Bale podcast.
Playing Round the Hay Bale podcast on Apple Music.
Ooh, we're really fancy now.
Tune in to Round the Hay Bale every Monday at 9 a.m. Central Time.